Hello, you are listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer and Amazon #1 best-selling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com. And while you're there, sign up for my newsletter so that you can learn even more about how to heal yourself naturally. Now, I'm super excited today because we have a very important person who's associated with a really important organization on our show today. Deborah Rozman is the president and CEO of the Institute of Heart Math. You can find out more about them and their very important work at heartmath.com and heartmath.co.uk. I've been a long-term fan of HeartMath for decades. I had one of their first apps back in the day when I had a desktop computer. I went to the Institute of Heart Math back when they were doing workshops, and they teach people and they teach you about how you can heal your heart naturally. Welcome, Deborah Rozman.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I'm just very happy to be here and be participating in your show.
Now, Deborah, the Institute of Heart Math does some really cool work, and I understand that you all have Nobel Prize winning scientists associated with your organization. Can you share for our audience, what is the Institute of Heart Math?
Okay, well, first of all, there's two HeartMath organizations. There's the Institute of Heart Math, or the HeartMath Institute, which is a nonprofit research and education organization. And that was founded in 1990 to research the heart, brain, spirit, nervous system connection and help understand the human operating system and how we can connect more intelligently with ourselves to be able to become more who we really are, become more empowered, become more self-regulated, become more fulfilled and awake human beings. Then there's the HeartMath Incorporated, which I'm the CEO of that, which is heartmath.com. And that organization produces the technology you talked about, and also the training programs and the whole HeartMath outreach to the world, from partnering with companies and healthcare systems and many different aspects of life to be able to help people connect with the intelligence and power of their own heart to improve health, performance, and their own connection with who they truly are.
Now, one of the things that I really love about HeartMath and the devices that you all sell is that people like me tell people like the folks in our audience, hey, you need to meditate. Hey, you need to lower your stress level. Hey, you need to calm down. And many people know they should do this, or it would be a good idea, but they don't know how to. I just spoke to a lady this morning. She said, I just cannot quiet my mind. But what's really cool about your biofeedback devices is that they're simple little tools that people can hook up to their computer and to their smartphones, where you can monitor what's actually going on in your body. You can find when you're stressed and how you can self-regulate.
So I think the key for people, and all of us at different times have challenges quieting our mind, but especially beginning meditators, especially with all the crazy energies going on in the world and the stimulation and the over-information. To quiet your mind requires the power of the heart. And that's what our biofeedback, it's a heart biofeedback, not brainwave. Although there's all sorts of forms of biofeedback which are very effective. The reason we focus on what we call our M-wave, which is technology, or our inner balance technology, is it's giving you feedback on the rhythmic pattern of your heart rate, called heart rate variability. And as you learn how to breathe through the heart at a certain rhythm and be able to activate a sense of calm within your feelings, within your heart, and it guides you to that. That's why we call it the inner balance trainer, or M-wave's the empowerment wave. Then what happens is the heart sends a signal to the brain and helps entrain the brain waves into that smooth, harmonious rhythm. That's what enables us to quickly calm and quiet the mind and find more of a state of inner ease. it's all about shifting to the heart first and connecting with the power of the heart. And the technology helps us actually do that instead of trying to think about it or imagine it or wonder what it is. And that's what calms the mind. It's kind of an opposite of thinking the brain controls everything. The heart really has a lot of input to the brain that is really important for our inner peace, our inner well-being, and our intuitive guidance.
Now, you bring up something really important that a lot of people don't know. And my understanding, and you have all the research to back this up, my understanding is that our EKG is 60 to 90 times more powerful than our EEG. So in other words, our heart rhythm actually controls the brain and controls our brain waves, and that our heart rhythm is about 60 to 90 times more powerful than our brain waves. Is that right? Or what's the statistic?
A little more accurately, it's close. But our heart is putting out like 2.5 watts of power with every beat. And it is regulating and informing the whole body. If our heart stops, everything else stops. And so the heart powering the whole system, including our brain, actually does that through 4 different ways that the heart communicates to the brain. Blood pressure waves, hormonally, and through the nervous system is another way. And there's a vagal nerve that goes from the heart to the brain, telling the brain how the body feels. And the brain responds to the heart's signal. And the most powerful way the heart communicates is through the pattern of our heart rate variability or heart rhythm. So yes, when the heart is putting out that power, and think of the heart as like a radio transmitter. We're on radio right now, and a radio receiver. So it's transmitting not only that beat to beat energy, it's transmitting information like a radio station on that frequency. So when we're stressed or frustrated or anxious, that pattern of heart rate variability is very chaotic and disordered, and that's being sent to the brain. When we're feeling love, care, appreciation, or calmness, or inner ease, that is a very sine wave-like harmonious waveform that goes to the brain, and it entrains the brain wave. So the brain responds to that heart signal. And that heart signal is so powerful, it can override whatever else is going on in the brain. Yes, the heart is putting out a magnetic field too, with every beat. That's 60 to 80 times stronger than the brain's magnetic field. You can even measure the heart's electromagnetic field, like 9-10 feet from the body, whereas the brain, you can only measure it a few inches. So they're always communicating with each other. The brain controls the heart in many ways. The heart controls the brain in many. It's a 2-way dialogue, and what we want to do is get them in sync. That's the key.
And, I recommend heart math to all my clients who have high blood pressure, anxiety, or really anyone who's wanting to feel a greater sense of peace. Who do you think can really benefit from your work, aside from anyone?
Aside from all of us. Well, I would say that people, which is almost everyone these days, who have quick to trigger or high stress or feel stress overload or overwhelmed or anxious and will need to reset their system or reboot. And sometimes even sleep doesn't let us really reboot or refresh. A lot of people are having trouble sleeping. It's like we get out of sync and it's hard to get back in sync. And sometimes a loving connection with our pet or with a child or with a friend can help us reset and feel back in sync with who we are. Exercise can, yoga can, meditation can, but even then, a lot of that's after the fact when we've already drained a lot of energy. So anybody who wants to learn how to develop more of that resilience, to come back quickly to their heart connection, to connect with their heart's inspiration and intuitive guidance for creativity or higher performance, as well as improve health and well-being, that's specifically what heart math is designed to do. So yes, we're in all sorts of markets, from children, kindergarten, right through college, learning these simple skills. We are working with the military for self-regulation and law enforcement. So when you freaked out because you think a guy has a gun, how do you come back to center and make a more intelligent choice right in the moment, in the heat of the moment? We work with executives, we work with nurses, hospitals, healthcare professionals. That is everyone in a sense. But in your question is anyone who wants to learn how to reset and get back into balance, inner balance quickly. That's who wants to use this technology.
So Deborah Rozman, President and CEO of the Institute of Heart Math, change is happening very quickly and the world's problems seem to be increasing. What do you think is taking place and is behind the increasing chaos?
Yes. First of all, I'm President and CEO of Heart Math Incorporated because the Heart Math Institute has a different president and CEO. What's taking place in the world I see from two lenses. One lens is there's an incredible shift happening. That's very positive. There's more heart opening. People are connected and they're going, wait a minute, it's crazy out there. We need to bond more. It's about love. It's about connection. It's about giving back. It's about helping people in the food kitchen. It's about inspiring each other. And we're feeling that energy because that's what nurtures our souls. That's what's fulfilling. Just more money and greed and politics and more head stuff feeds back on us as more and more stress. So people are waking up to think, do I want stress? Or do I want to find more connection and ease? And that really involves that heart. So there's a heart awakening, and that's wonderful because the more the world looks crazy, the more people are waking up to the heart. That's the good side of it. I think you can also look through the lens of so much information, so much change. It can overload our nervous system. It can make us feel like very pessimistic about what's happening in the world in terms of climate change or decisions that are being made that can affect millions of people, or wars, or the usual things that we've had throughout history. But it's like, how do we get back to where we are now? And my feeling is all of this has to come up. As more light comes in, more heart comes in, all of what's under the surface has to come forth for healing, for new views, for the time of reconciliation. And that's not going to happen overnight. But as long as it's all repressed, it doesn't have a chance. And so those are the two lenses I look at to see very hopeful this planetary shift going on. And that's why Heart Math was designed for these times, to give people a simple, scientifically based, user-friendly way to reboot their system, get back in sync, awaken their potential, awaken their heart, and really get guided by that intuitive heart intelligence.
Now, Deborah Rozman, you run a very large organization. You're a big deal. How do you manage your stress?
I use our tools. I don't think I'm a big deal. I'm just actually, the more I use my tools and operate from the heart, moment to moment, as much as I can, the more humble you become in terms of there's a bigger, much bigger plan going on, and just being very grateful and appreciative to be facilitating others in this. So the mission of Heart Math is to help activate the heart of humanity and understand what that means. It's not just something spiritual or philosophical. It's truly this power center where we are connected spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. And we can call it the energetic heart, but it is where our center of joy and fulfillment comes from, no matter what's happening. And to be able to give people tools that I use, that I find most effective moment to moment. And yeah, we're all going to get triggered at times. I do. But how do you shift back to the heart? How do you reconnect as quickly as possible? And that's where the Heart Math techniques that we teach in our training programs and the technology, the M-Wave and the Inner Balance, guide us to that place. And we then build a new baseline of being able to go back there on our own quicker and quicker.
Now, Deborah, many people are experiencing more feelings of anxiety, overwhelm, and uneasiness. what do you see as the underlying causes of this?
A lot of what we just talked about, the uncertainty of what's happening in the world, financial uncertainty. You put all the insecurities together and that can create a general feeling of unease and anxiety that just doesn't go away. And those feelings don't get released until we lift our vibration or our perception to another level. So how do we do that? How do we get a bigger picture perspective that puts a lot of this in context and helps us get that inner knowingness of how we can move forward and co-create and be empowered through all these changes? And that really takes a power stronger than just the mind running around in its circles. It takes the power of the heart. And when the mind and heart get in sync and the heart's intuition is directing the show, then we start to see our way through the fog and through the uncertainty. And we start to see how we can co-create a new world for ourselves and others. And that's what's happening. People are overwhelmed and overloaded up here and don't have the tools to know how to get all of this in sync.
Now, you mentioned that HeartMath has basically two arms, if you will. One arm that does research and another arm that produces these technology instruments that attach to your computer and your cell phone that are very practical tools that we can all use as biofeedback devices.
Yes.
I love reading your research that you all do, basic things like how to lower blood pressure naturally. What has the research found about how heart coherence can help us deal with the challenges we're all facing?
Thank you for asking that. So first, let's talk about what is heart coherence. So when your heart rhythm or heart rate variability pattern is measured by the inner balance or the M-wave technology that you talked about, when you see that pattern in this smooth rhythm, that's called a coherent waveform, a sine wave. There's just one peak. If you look at the power spectrum of all the frequencies within that rhythm, whereas when you're angry or frustrated, there's lots of frequencies fighting each other within the heart rhythm. That's what we feel like. We're out of sync. When you get into that heart coherent rhythm, that is sent to the brain, and the thalamus, which synchronizes cortical function, sees that pattern and opens up your higher perception, your frontal lobe. That pattern is also sent to the amygdala, the emotional memory center of the brain. And when it feels the body and the heart is in harmony, then you start to recall or evoke more positive feeling. And when we have positive feeling and positive perception, they're regenerative. We actually have a bigger picture view of possibility. And so what you want to do is be able to practice heart coherence and be able to get that above the fray view of things during your day, whenever you need it. And you want to increase your baseline heart rhythm coherence all the time so that you are at a new floor where you're kind of in a flow. And that's what the flow state is, where you're flowing and creative and connecting, and you can move back to balance as needed. That's coherence, operational coherence. And it's heart rhythm coherence that creates that intuitive and operational coherence that we all want.
Now let's talk about some real practical techniques. Would you be willing to share some of your HeartMath techniques with our audience so that they can learn how to increase their own heart intelligence?
Sure, let's just pick the very simplest one. It's called quick coherence. And if you have the M-wave or the inner balance, you will see there's guides that guide you into that state. And you can then see your heart rhythm change in real time as you do this technique I'm about to teach you. And that's very powerful. You go, wow, I did that, look at that. So first step is to focus your attention in the area of the heart. You can put your hand on the heart if that helps you bring the energy down from the head to the heart area. You can close your eyes if that helps you heart focus is just bringing the energy and attention to that center of your chest, the area around your heart, and then focusing your breath there. So you pretend like your breath is flowing in through the area of the heart and out through the area of the heart. So breathe a little more slowly, a little more deeply than usual. Your autonomic nervous system should do this. It's starting to come into more balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic system. Just that heart-focused breathing. You'll start to see more smoothness happening in the heart rhythm if you have an inner balance technology. Now continue the heart-focused breathing and activate a regenerative or renewing feeling or attitude, like appreciation, be gratitude for someone or something in your life, maybe a pet, maybe a time in nature, maybe a loved one you just had a wonderful conversation with, something that's easy for you to feel appreciation, gratitude. If you can't feel that, then just activate a feeling of sincere calm, an attitude of calm, but continue the heart-focused breathing. Breathing in through the area of the heart, calm, you're drawing that in, and you're breathing out through the area of the heart, the calm or the gratitude. Now, remembering that the heart is like a radio transmitter and receiver, you're now transmitting or radiating that feeling, that frequency to all the cells of your body, and it can even be measured outside the body, picked up by people around you. So that's why being able to come back to calm or being appreciative has such a powerful effect on our environment. Thank you. That's it.
And what's so great about that, Deborah, is that it's so simple.
Exactly. It's our natural mode to refresh and renew. We've just lost it because we've been so focused up here. And it's time to bring back the heart and bring them together.
Now, there's a flower essence that I recommend. It's made by Australian Flower Essences called Tall Yellow Top. And what it's about, it's for people who are stuck so much in their head that they feel lonely. So when we get stuck in our head and disconnect from our heart, it really contributes to a lot of feelings of loneliness, even when we're around a lot of other people. So can you make any observations, Deborah? You have a PhD. What do you think happens to us as people when we get stuck in our head?
Well, we've all been there. But we basically are cut off from our body or our heart. You know, a lot of people believe that they exist from the neck up and the rest of them is just a machine. And that's unfortunately not true. Our emotional state is distributed into cells throughout our body. Our hormones we are embodied spirits. And so the brain is an incredible instrument, computer, to take in the senses and to make sense of memories and our experience and pattern match and to think. But it's only one part of who we are. Our heart is what is connected to life, to other people, to nature. And it operates in a more energetic realm, and our feelings have information and intuitions. And opening the heart is critical for our fulfillment and our connections with others and our next level of perception. The brain needs the heart activated and open to unfold its higher potential. So when we are just cut off, we feel lonely because we're isolated within our head. And so we're cut off from the connections. So reopening the heart, maybe we've been hurt. Maybe we felt betrayed. Maybe we've just felt we're too sensitive. But the whole unfoldment of human consciousness involves opening and reopening the heart. And that's for compassion, self-compassion, kindness, care, qualities, attributes of the heart, core values of the heart, respect, gratitude. These aren't just churchy, sweet things. These are powerful energies that make our heart come alive, that connect us to life and open our higher brain potentials.
Now, let's talk about something really practical, which is high blood pressure. So many clients come to me and they've had high blood pressure. They're on medication. They still have high blood pressure. They've got stressful lives. When someone has high blood pressure and they're wanting to use natural methods to bring their blood pressure under control, what are some of your recommendations?
Yeah, we have done, or we've been involved in a number of research studies on hypertension that were done. One was done at Hewlett Packard. I mean, there have been Motorola, companies that are concerned because it is such a high risk factor for worse heart disease, and probably 25-30% of the population has been hypertensive. So it's very costly. What we found when people practice heart rhythm coherence is that they can lower their systolic and diastolic blood pressure if it's high by as much as 10 points within a few minutes.
Wow.
You are actually learning as you come back and balance the autonomic nervous system and bring that heart rhythm into more of that coherent sine wave-like mode. It's actually modulating the respiratory breathing rhythm, but also the blood pressure rhythm. So we've seen people within 3 months in controlled studies using the HeartMath techniques, like the one I taught you, and the technology to see when they're really in heart coherence, be able to lower their blood pressure significantly because they're self-regulating their stress response and they're changing their baseline stress response. So it's a fundamental change in their system in 3 months. And it's equivalent to a low salt diet or exercise regimen or a lot of other medication. Many people go off their medication, then their doctors see their blood pressure is lower, so slowly take them off. So again, all of this is important if your high blood pressure is related to an accumulation of stress. And often we aren't even conscious of it. We're so adapted to thinking that this stressful life and triggering and living tense is normal. It is not. It's become the new norm in society because of what's going on. But that is a signal for us to do something different, to shift to the heart. We can't always run away to a beach or go to a yoga studio. We can't always do things that we know are healthiest for us. But in the moment, we can always learn how to shift to the heart, breathe through the heart. And there's a whole set of 8-9 core HeartMath techniques and tools that enable us to move throughout the day in more of that easeful flow, no matter what's happening around us or in our work or home life. That's the beauty. That's what HeartMath is dedicated to do. We have HeartMath in the United States, the UK, Netherlands, Benelux. It's spreading all over the world. HeartMath centers and technologies available because people need to know how they can connect with this intelligent system that's in the heart.
So from a practical perspective, if somebody in the audience has high blood pressure and they want to use your techniques and use some of your technologies, which I actually like your gadgets because they tell you, yes, you're in coherence, or no, you're not in coherence.
Right.
But from a practical perspective, if somebody has high blood pressure, Deborah, how often would they need to practice? How many times a day, for how long? You mentioned people can make a serious change, a significant change in 3 months, but on a daily basis, how much time do they need to spend?
You know, it varies, of course, among the individual, but we recommend people practice 5 minutes 3 times a day to really get in coherence. And then as they do that, there's different challenge levels to increase your coherence score because the technology gives you points. It has gamification and rewards as you practice. So if you do 2-3 times a day for 5 minutes, and then maybe a longer one, there's guides in the Inner Balance that you click on that take you through, guide you through the quick coherence technique, or guide you through a longer one called the heart lock-in. In that for 5-10 minutes, you will start to feel different, and you'll start to become aware of how to release the tension. You'll start to experience a shift overall in your perceptions, in how you feel, and you'll feel empowered because now you know where to go and what to do when it comes up. So usually, if people will just do that, and that's not a lot of time, that's not having to go 30-minute exercise program every day, that it goes right to the heart of the matter to shift your heart rhythms. And if you can do that and sustain that a few times a day, and then you can use that technique with or without the technology. Anytime something comes up, the key is to remember to do it. You have to do the do. And that is the shift, the heart-focused breathing, and then activating a renewing feeling. And you'll start to see the problem differently that you were addressing.
Yeah, and you bring up something really important, which is that I think so many people, they're so acclimated to the stress that feels normal to them. But by using the HeartMath technology, people can begin to notice, oh, this is what it feels like to be in a state of coherence.
Right.
And it feels better. And you're happier. So when you go out of balance, then you become more self-adjusting.
That's exactly right. That's how it works.
Now, I know that the research at the Institute of HeartMath is moving more in the direction of exploring the interconnectivity between people and all living systems. Can you speak to that and why the new discoveries this research may provide are so important?
Yes, it's a favorite topic of mine. So for many years, the HeartMath Institute researched personal coherence. Well, I talked about that heart rhythm pattern, and they still do, and how it affects different performance, health, disease states, what we've been talking about. Now, we also saw in our work with organizations that as individuals got more coherent, then the people they work with got more coherent. And so social coherence is really needed for how do we get along with each other in this world, whether it's at home or the workplace or society. And being able to help people get into coherence, they feel more connected with each other. It's more empathetic, more compassionate, more understanding of what it's like to feel or be in another person's shoes rather than separate and judgmental. So part of interconnectivity is understanding that we are all connected through the heart. And then looking at global coherence, what does that mean for the planet as more of us wake up and activate the heart? The sine wave pattern of heart rhythm coherence couples with the Earth's magnetic field. Some of the Earth's rhythms that emanate from the core of the Earth overlap our cardiovascular rhythms. Some of the Earth's ionosphere rhythms that are up in the atmosphere, above the atmosphere, overlap our brain waves. So we're really connected with the Earth through these frequencies, these rhythms as well. So we're measuring that. We're seeing, okay, if there's changes in the Earth's field, how does that change our heart rate variability? Or if we change our heart rhythm pattern, our HRV, and get more coherent, are we coupling more in a harmonious way with the Earth's field? What are we feeding the field each day? Is it anger and frustration? Or can we shift and feed it love and forgiveness and care? And what impact does that have on our home, on our classrooms, on our workplace, on our relationships? So it's not, again, coming from the spiritual direction of, oh, this is what we should do, this is what the great teachers taught us. It is, but it's coming from the direction of, wow, this is what science is saying. Science now saying we are all connected in the field. So what are we doing about it? And so having more of that research and the scientific underpinnings can help people understand how to move into that interconnectivity, how we can regenerate each other and help people understand that that's what it is all about. And as more of us become coherent together, it's more than 1 + 1 is 2. It multiplier effect, so that compassion and love and care really can activate the heart of humanity quicker.
Now, Deborah, you mentioned that the energy field of the heart that is bigger than the energy field of your brain.
Right.
And I think you mentioned that the energy field of your heart can be measured 9 feet away from you. So when we're in a room with another person, or we're close within proximity of other people, your heart waves affect their heart waves, and their heart waves affect yours. So what is the research about how quickly people's EKGs start to synchronize? Is it, I think I read it was in 3 minutes, you're in synchrony. What's your understanding?
It varies again. So, for example, some instruments you can only measure about 3 feet away. Some people say it's 9 feet away. This is the heart's electromagnetic field. What we've seen at the HeartMath Institute research is that my heart rhythm pattern, whatever it is showing up in the brainwave with someone standing just a few feet away, not touching. The implication is, and that's been fairly instantaneous, you know, the implication is that if imagine yourself in a crowded elevator with people with all sorts of different attitudes and feelings going on. So what is happening? We're all affecting each other. No wonder there's so much incoherence in the world. And so if we can learn to put out that heart coherence, that affects the brain waves of either people around us. And so again, part of what our research is showing is that and there's studies you can find on the HeartMath website of how one person gets both heart coherent, or 3 or 4 people, are how it lifts other people into more coherence. Just like 3 or 4 people stress can bring you down, 3 or 4 people in coherence can lift you up. And that's very, very powerful. But the research is showing how our heart rhythms are affecting each other's heart and brain waves. And that has implications for mothers and babies, implications for lovers, implications for children in classrooms, everywhere. So it's just like opening the door to this interconnectivity, going, wow, what does this mean? And now what can we do about it?
And again, I think part of what's so exciting for me about your research at the Institute of HeartMath is that it shows how we can be of service.
Right.
There's so many times, for example, maybe you have a family member who's very sick, and there's nothing that you personally can do. Maybe you can bring them soup, or you can talk to them, or you can listen to them. But if you yourself are in this state of coherence, then they have the opportunity to synchronize with that calmness, with that gratitude, with that appreciation, with that coherence, and so that they can find the peace even during their difficult times. Now, Deborah, you've talked about personal, social, and global coherence. Can you explain a little bit more about what that actually is?
Well, personal coherence is when our heart and brain and nervous system are in sync. We're in that heart rhythm pattern, that sine wave, that smooth, coherent pattern. Social coherence is when there's 2 or more people in that heart rhythm coherence state. And whether they're talking or not, or just near each other, or even they're affecting each other on the field and amplifying each other's care or compassion or love or kindness. So that's very powerful. And if we get a group doing that, or a sports team or a work team, then they're more in the flow together, in the zone together, and train. We can be more co-creative together without so much of the crap in the way, so to speak. And global coherence is when you have a lot of people throughout the planet doing that. And for example, the HeartMath Institute has a global care room. If you go to their heartmath.org/GCI, it's called the Global Coherence Initiative, you can join the global care room and do a heart-focused meditation, get heart coherent, and see people all over the world doing the same thing. So as more and more people practice heart rhythm coherence, and then we know we're connected to the Earth's fields, it can accelerate social coherence. It can accelerate global coherence, which then can accelerate our ability to get more heart coherent ourselves. So the whole thing is all interconnected, intertwined. So we say it's iterative, meaning more personal coherence can iterate to more social coherence, can create more global coherence, which then can create more personal coherence and social coherence, like intertwined upward spirals. And that's actually our vision of how the next level of human consciousness and evolution will unfold. But the key is the heart. That's been the missing piece. And as we add that and we see it objectively through technology and we connect with each other in the heart, and we see that through technology, through apps that show us that, then we're going to see a huge acceleration in human kindness.
Now, I'm going to give you a huge compliment, Deborah, and that is, even just listening to you, I actually feel my heart resonate. And so I can actually feel that you are literally communicating to your heart, through your heart. What do you think it means, you're an expert at this, to communicate from our heart? How and how do you do that? Because I can feel that you're doing that.
Well, as you practice shifting to the heart and living and operating more from the heart and shifting back, your heart field expands and you have a new baseline of coherence. So you're going to be radiating more through the heart naturally without even thinking about it. But we can all practice that by shifting the heart and radiating love or appreciation or care, as I've been doing here, because I genuinely appreciate and care and love everybody who's listening to this. And that's what you're feeling. We feel each other. That's what I'm saying. Your heart is a radio receiver, feeling my heart's radio transmission. And we can become more conscious of that. And if we feel and pick up some vibes, so to speak, from someone who's stressed out, we can learn how to shift back to our heart and put out compassion, put out care, put out kindness. What that does, it shields us, protects us from their lower energy or their stress, and it also helps lift them up. So I practiced a lot. That's the only difference.
Yeah, I can really feel that. And what you mentioned something really interesting also, which is that when you are operating from your heart and you're sending out that signal, literally that vibration of care and appreciation and gratitude, that frequency in itself is protective, so that you're not picking up on other people's stress. You're not picking up on their bad vibes. Now,
it doesn't mean you aren't going to be aware of them, like you're shielding yourself off from them, but that compassion, that coherence helps you understand with compassion what they're experiencing. And so you don't get sucked into it. You don't get into that sympathy or as much into the overcare. Now, this takes practice. This isn't like magic all of a sudden. It can be here and there. But to really have that baseline of knowingness, that is a higher level of developed intelligence, and that comes with practice, so that you are putting out the heart coherent signal, and you're not going to be as affected, even from the beginning, by everybody else's stress, unless you get sucked into the drama of it.
Now, Deborah, you've stated that your mission is to help activate the heart of humanity. Can you tell our listeners more about that?
Help activate the heart of humanity. So all the heart math techniques, tools, technologies are helping you, me, others activate our individual hearts, heart coherence. And as we do that together, we're activating social coherence and global coherence. And that is awakening us to that there is one heart, one humanity, one peoples, one huge family on this planet that we're all connected to. And activating that heart of humanity unfolds the higher brain potential and the higher wisdom. So we become more of who we're destined to be as a human race.
Now, for our audience, you can find out more about the amazing work of HeartMath at heartmath.com, heartmath.co.uk. And then you mentioned also the research. Will you share the website link for the research arm?
Yeah, that's heartmath.org, although you can get to the research through those other websites too. But if you're looking to understand or purchase the technology, if you're in Europe, you want to go to heartmath.co.uk. And if you're in the United States, heartmath.com. But all of it is linked together, and you'll be able to get connected and see and learn more. There's training programs if you're a health professional or a coach, or you work one-on-one with others as a fitness or yoga instructor. We have certification programs to help you learn the HeartMath skill set, and then you're certified and licensed of how to share it accurately and properly with others, the science, the research, the techniques, and the technology. So I encourage you to reach out to us if this is something your heart is drawing you towards.
So you've been listening to the Natural Healing Show for UK Health Radio. I'm your host, Catherine Carrigan, medical intuitive healer and Amazon #1 bestselling author. You can find out more about me and my work at catherinecarrigan.com. While you're there, sign up for my newsletter so you can learn even more about how you can heal yourself naturally. And remember, when you live your life from your heart, not only are you happier and calmer, you create global coherence, social coherence, and you're healthier. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.